But right now we are just trying to release our first game, and the road is still very, very long until we can make more out of Symphonia. Hello, my name is Simon Larguier. I'm game designer on Symphonia, and you are watching Game8 Connect. So Symphonia is a 2D platformer in which you embody Philemon, which is a violinist, and he's in a musical world called Symphonia, in which music is a source of life. So he plays the violin to activate elements. He can use his violin and bow to bounce on the ground and catapult himself to avoid obstacles. And ultimately, he's on a quest to find other musicians to reform an orchestra that will empower Symphonia and reawaken the world. What we had at the very beginning was a gameplay pitch. So we had this tool that we could use to stick on the ground and on the walls in order to catapult the player in a 2D environment. So what inspired us? Well, it's really that we wanted the player to use a tool that would be original and open new gameplay and universe possibilities. So at the beginning, this tool that you could wield was a spear, but we realized that we didn't want to use a spear because we didn't want combats in the game. So we were looking for new ideas, and we found that the violin bow was a very interesting choice because no one would think about a violin bow to bounce on the ground or catapult yourself. So when we had this violin idea, we had the violinists, and then came the world of Symphonia. And so it was a whole coherent idea that we built just from the violin bow, in fact. Well, it was at first really because our gameplay pitch was just a platforming pitch, but when we decided to dive into the musical world theme, we realized that we didn't really need to make it an action platformer. Platforming and musical aspects were already very interesting to explore, and we felt that we had enough mechanics for a student project. And also, some of our inspirations in terms of game design were also platformers that didn't have combat. For instance, The End is Nigh, or Celeste, or Rayman. Those guys proved also that you can make interesting platformers without combat. And you are right to say that right now we are in a big Metroidvania action platformer era with games that resembles Hollow Knight, or inspired from Hollow Knight, but it doesn't mean that we have to follow this path. We can still make platformers that just heavily rely on platforming elements, I think. That would be mostly artistic references that inspired us. Like, for instance, we were inspired by Hollow Knight, not for artistic style, but mostly because of the technique they use to integrate 2D sprites in their environment. I know also that DuckTales, the 90s game on the NES, has a pogo mechanic that resembles our bouncing ability in the game. Aside from that, it's mostly like artistic references, like Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Baroque style for architecture also. For instance, the Opéra Garnier from Paris was a big inspiration for mixing musical elements in the art style with real life elements that you could find in real buildings. Yeah, yes, definitely. Because our game revolves around the theme of the symphonic orchestra, we were inspired by the Romantic period of classical music, which is end of 19th century and beginning of 20th century. So this would be composers like Camille Saint-Saëns or Rachmaninoff or Antonin Dvorak. And so we also mixed those inspirations with inspirations from very mainstream blockbuster movies, actually. So that would be music from the Harry Potter composer, those kinds of inspirations, because we had to mix the romantic classical idea with the fact that we are making quite a linear game that tries to use music as a narration element. So we thought those inspirations would allow us to make music that is both linear and interesting to listen to for narration, but also heavily reminds us of the classical romantic period. Making the music in Symphonia was both a challenge and a really creative opening for us, because we have to respect some classical ideas. So we have restrictions, but also it allows us to do whatever we want with those instruments and with those concepts of the symphonic orchestra and instruments. We tried to use the instruments and the theme of the symphonic orchestra in all parts of the game when making it. So that would be gameplay, that would be the scenery, the animations, the characters that can play music also, and of course the OST. We were trying to make a coherent world out of those restrictions. So yeah, kind of both. Yeah, so we had several challenges during the production. One of them was refining the gameplay in a way that would allow the most people to enjoy it without making it too casual at the same time, because our student game had a very rough gameplay. It was harder to maneuver and to learn the mechanics. So some people could simply not enjoy the game for very long because the mechanics were too hard to understand. So we had to refine that. Also, one of our main challenges was the recording of the OST, because we had to think about the pieces of music that we would compose in a way that would allow real people to play them on real instruments, so that we can record and then integrate them again in our game. And a third aspect that would be a big challenge would be that we have a high level of detail in the art style, and that means that we had to find a way to spend a bit less time on making a very big number of rooms in the game, because if you have like several hundreds of rooms, you cannot spend several days on each room to make the scenery. So yeah, that would be 3 big challenges that we encountered while making Symphonia. I think we can say that the game is kind of different. It's not extremely different, but it has very big differences, because we started again from the beginning when we finished the student game and started to work on the commercial game with Sunny Peak. We started over, so we have very few elements that we kept from the student game and directly integrated in the new game. We kept big game design elements, ideas, and the very concept of what defines Symphonia, which is the musical world, the main character. It's mostly the same in the big ideas, but what really changed is the level of quality and quantity that we incorporated in the game. Also, we added new mechanics. We added a real narrative aspect, because we had no interesting narrative aspect in the student game. So we really had to delve deep into if we want to make a game, we have to try and make it meaningful, both for us and for people that will play the game. So what do we want to tell as a story? How are we going to incorporate a story when we really never tried on the student game? What are going to be the tools that we use? And so yeah, we have a lot of these different aspects in the new game, when at the same time it kind of relies on what we first built on the student project. So basically, it all started when we entered our final year of studies at Isart Digital. So when you're in your final year, you have to pitch a project to everyone, and then some of them are selected as official pitches, and then all students have to gather and choose one game that they are going to work on. So some people from the Sony Peak team were already friends before that point, so they decided to work together on one pitch, and then some other didn't know each other from before. Just like myself, I just chose this gameplay pitch because I thought it would be interesting to work on it, and I liked 2D platforming games. Yeah, we were kind of friends before, but only some members, and then we became friends as time passed by when we worked on the student project of Symphonia. And then, at the end of the year, we released the game, and eventually we came to found the studio Sunny Peak together. . because we came from a background of school students, we had to find a good balance in terms of who can have agency on what creative aspect of the game, because we all have different expertise. For instance, I am game designer. I had game design courses. Olivier was a composer and he had composing music courses. So of course we are going to have agency on those aspects. But at the same time, we all graduated together. So we have to find creative balance between everyone in the team. Like, we don't have one creative director that will decide for all of the main aspects of the game before anyone else does anything. So you have to find this balance and respect everyone, and at the same time have agency on what you are the best at in the team. And then you have like management or financial difficulties, because as an indie developer, you want to live off of your work, so you have to find money to do so. Yeah, where we were kind of lucky because we had a good student game that we could use to leverage our potential to make games in front of publishers or potential investors. So yeah, we are still independent because we own our company and we own our IP, but we were helped by our publisher Head Up, which is funding Symphonia and allowing us to making the game. I mean, it's a great experience. I think we are learning a lot about how to make games on our own, how to work together with both colleagues and friends, how to try and talk about what we are making to the world. It's a lot of different aspects of making a game that we didn't have a chance to explore when we were students, because we really learned how to make games in the technical sense, but not how to sell a project, how to sell a game, how to talk about it, how to found a company. So yeah, we are, I think, learning a lot more than if we were not founding our company. So yeah, it's kind of a dream come true. At the same time, it's a lot of work, but we would not have that chance like for on any project. So we have to fully focus on it and enjoy the process. It's great to see the reception of the game. We had already 2 small releases, because at first the student game released in 2020 and also in 2021. So before it was on itch, and then 2021 it was on GOG.com. And also we had the release of the demo this year in August of 2024. So we already have a little bit of reception on that, and people seem to really enjoy the game. It's getting played like all over the world. It's really great and refreshing. We also have been to different exhibitions like Paris Games Week or Gamescom. We always have people playing the game on the booth, and a lot of people seem to enjoy the game. So it's really refreshing and heartwarming to see that. At the same time, we really hope that this will continue with the full release, and that people will not be disappointed on what we are making. And so yeah, it's getting closer now, and at the same time we're excited for it and also a little bit scared, but it's mainly positive feelings, and we are really glad to see that our work is finally paying off. It's an interesting question, because I always felt that Symphonia has the potential to be explored in different kind of media apart from games, and I would love to have the possibility to do it one day. It could be short film or movie. It could be like books or animated series, comics. Musical themes also have to be explored, I think. So we could do like discs or new music. So much is possible, I think, with this universe. It really has good potential. But right now we are just trying to release our first game, and the road is still very, very long until we can make more out of Symphonia. But I would love to work on that. Yeah, definitely. Because as an indie game developer, you don't really have time to stop and and do nothing for a while. You always have to make the most out of the time that you have to work on new projects and try to make new stuff. So right now we are finishing the work on Symphonia, and also starting to think and build a very start of prototype for maybe a next adventure. It's so early on that I can basically not talk about it because it would be both too early and meaningless because everything could change at any instant. But of course, we are trying to find new great ideas for games. Musical aspects would be interesting to keep because we feel like it's kind of part of our identity as a studio now to really focus on the musical aspect of things. At the same time, also, what would be possible is seeing how the reception and release of Symphonia goes. And if the reception is great on Symphonia, maybe we have the opportunity to make more of it. Maybe another game, a DLC, or anything else that could be possible. It really depends on if Symphonia is going to have a good release or not, I think. So, we're just staying tuned on and waiting to see how it goes on. It's always a tricky question because everyone has their own strength and capacities. So I would say like first focus on your strength and try to think about what you are able to do with what you already know. And at the same time, like find people that you can trust and try to see how you can work together to make the best out of your skills together. And then like you have to take also inspiration and do serious research about what has already been done and how you can not copy but use the knowledge that already exists on the internet to learn new stuff that you will be missing, and then like just try to make something that will be meaningful to you and people around, because I think it's the most important part. Like if you don't try to find meaning in what you are making, you will get lost in the process and start worrying about, am I making the right choices? What was I going for when making this mechanic or this place in the game? Like you have to really have a good idea of what you are making. Thank you for watching Game8 Connect. I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you want to buy Symphonia because you like the interview or the game, you can buy it on any platform very soon in 2024. Yeah, thank you so much.